So I think we all know the importance of building a personal brand on social media if you're an entrepreneur. However, do you know not only how to build that brand, but make it memorable, make it recognizable, and make it obsession worthy? That is a whole nother level, isn't it? Well, in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to build such a rock solid personal brand that you become obsession worthy and your clients refer you like crazy. And so you get this massive referral network that feeds your client and customer base. So let's do this.
Striving for a business breakthrough? Shortcut your learning curve to success with the right training, coaching, and support. Welcome to the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show with Adrienne Hill, a show for coaches, course creators, and network and affiliate marketers striving to earn six figures by leveraging social media without being slaves to their businesses. From an overworked hustler to an impactful entrepreneur, your journey starts here on the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show.
Today, I'm here with Shannon Lavenia. I'm super excited to bring her to you guys because she is the founder of Brand Builder Design Studios and an expert in all things branding, which is hugely important when you're putting yourself out there on social. So welcome, Shannon. I'm so excited that you're here with us.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here too. Thank you for inviting me to the summit. It's such an honor. So exciting.
Well, let's start, for the viewers who haven't met you yet, let's start. I would love to hear a little bit about your story and what's brought you here with us today.
Absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur since 2002. Back before then, I was a high school teacher of all things. I taught high school biology and worked in a hospital and did a bunch of other things, and kind of just knew that I wanted a lot more freedom in my life, and started a home-based business and was very, very successful in that business, where we sold another company's products, and did that for 7 years until that company went out of business. And yeah, it was pretty shocking. During that time, we had personally earned about $7 million, and we went from that to zero. And one of the very, very, very big lessons I learned was that I had not spent time developing my own brand or growing my own audience because I had been doing everything for this company that we were working with. Mm-hmm. So after all that time, I didn't have authentically anything that I had built for myself. Mm-hmm. So, that was right around 2009, 2010. I had my beautiful daughter, and we were like in a very difficult position. My husband and I were facing bankruptcy. We were new parents. We were losing our beautiful $1 million plus home. And it was quite an accomplishment for me because I had grown up so very, very poor. And here we were kind of like going back in that cycle, right? So my husband and I pretty much vowed we'd never be in that situation again. And when I started to do a lot of study, one of the fundamental things that I realized was the foundation of any business is developing a brand that other people know, love, and trust. And when you develop a brand that a lot of people talk about know, like, and trust, I think know, love, and trust really builds that loyalty that people will continue to follow you over the years, over the decades. They'll buy whatever products you put out. And more than that, they will refer you to others. So I developed a brand. My Shannon Lavenia brand was my first brand that I developed and took off very rapidly. I started a podcast called the Booming Business Podcast. Had some incredible guests on there like Grant Cardone and Amy Porterfield, Chris Ducker. I just really attracted these A-list guests, and that grew my brand and my business so that we were, after we made it through bankruptcy to the other side, we were able to build our business back up. And I have, an audience that's followed me for over 10 years through every evolution of my brand. And during that process, a lot of people started to come to me and say, hey, how did you develop your brand? How did you get these A-lister guests? And I said, I did it myself. You know, I did a lot of study. I invested into a lot of study about branding and marketing, did a lot of testing, made a lot of mistakes along the way, and pretty much dialed in the process. And since then, we have launched many successful brands through Brand Builder Design Studios. We've launched incredible courses through our Brand Builder Collective. We're relaunching the Brand Builder, the Booming Business podcast, and just have had, you know, an incredible ride in this journey.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's kind of a painful story, but at the same time, there was like the learning that you got from it was huge of like, yeah, if you're just a face, like a talking head for some other brand or company and you're not developing your own, you can find yourself in hot water, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's nice that you guys got that lesson, built your own brand, and now like any company or product you're working with could go out of business and you'll be fine, right?
Absolutely. And part of our business that we did, you know, we still have a sales consultancy part of our business where companies contract with us to do their higher level sales, but they do that now because of our brand.
Right.
So, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So branding is huge. So one thing that I'm curious, you know, for our viewers, they might love to know the difference between branding and design, because I mean, they're very close and they're integrated, but they're different. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And this is like fundamentally one of those things that we sort through when we have new clients that come on board. A lot of times when we're onboarding a new client, they've already spent like thousands and thousands of dollars on design. And design really comes from somebody who is a graphic designer. They know how to utilize the tools like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, and they can create beautiful, beautiful design. But that doesn't mean that that is a brand. So a brand is the sum total of all of the assets that you have that communicates who you are to your audience in a way that compels them to want to buy from you.
Okay.
That's a brand. And if we take it a step further, it communicates to them in such a way that they get really excited and obsessed with your brand in such a way that they don't just want to buy from you, but they want to share you and they want to tell others about you. And there's some great examples out there in the world that I think a lot of us can communicate about. One of them is Tom's shoes. Like Tom's shoes, you know, those Tom's shoes are not like the most amazing looking shoes. They're not the most incredibly comfortable shoes. You know, there's shoes that are more comfortable. There's shoes that are more aesthetic than their shoes. But when they first came out with their mission of, you know, buy our shoes, which are comfortable, and we made them to be ecologically savvy. We have this incredible mission. They came out with that brand and they took off like crazy because people shared them like crazy. It really became like this incredible, like people felt proud to buy Tom's shoes. And because of that, they shared it. That's really what you would consider to be an obsession-worthy brand, right? Now, it wasn't their logo that did it. It wasn't their shoe design that did it. It was the actual mission statement and the branding statement and how they launched that branding statement, right? The exact targeting to their ideal customer and the messaging to that ideal customer that had that brand take off. So a brand is a culmination or a collection of your design, but making sure that that design communicates to your ideal customer. So it's knowing and identifying who that ideal customer is. It's knowing where that ideal customer is, why they buy, who they like to buy from, what triggers that buying decision, and also the communication assets that you have that go along with your brand and the consistency of that communication that really like digs into the heart and soul of your customer that has them become such a passionate, loyal follower and customer of the brand. That's branding. Design is the look and feel. And unfortunately, a lot of people do invest a significant amount of money, or they try to really shortcut it by going to like Fiverr and getting a logo or a business card, and they get something that looks pretty to them, but doesn't necessarily communicate to their audience.
Right. Yeah. So that helps a lot. I mean, sounds like the brand it's all encompassing. It's everything. It's who you are. It's what you stand for, your mission, your values, your personality, your offerings, right? Like everything. Everything.
Right. It's the essence of what your business is, what it does, and who it does it for.
Okay, great. So how important is branding then to the growth of a business, specifically in social media? What role does that play?
So this is another great question. And right now, I think this is such a critical question because everybody has turned to online marketing, given the current situation we're in with COVID, the lockdowns, the shutdowns. There are millions of new entrepreneurs that are launching their businesses online because a lot of people have realized like, hey, I need a plan B, or now's the time to pursue this passion, right, that they've had kind of locked up inside. They might have more time, more resources right now. So it's so important right now because of how unbelievably competitive it's getting online. And the best way that I relate this, I love using analogies. So the best way that I can relate this is like, if you go on a first date. Now, I've been with my husband for 23 years, so it's been a long time since we've been on a first date. But, if you go on a first date and you show up in your gardening clothes, it's definitely going to have a different perception and outcome of that first date than if you show up ready to make the best impression, right? Yeah. And some people might be like, oh, I don't really care. They should like me for who I am. People aren't even going to be interested in who you are online unless visually you captivate them, because that's what drives that initial decision to keep looking and to stop the scroll. Right. Is the visual aspects of your brand. Then it's the consistency of which you're in front of the people, which also has them stop the scroll and really pay attention. Like if you're showing up all the time in their Instagram feed, in their Facebook feed, on their LinkedIn, right? If you're there consistently and your look is consistent, right? Where they can now recognize it as a pattern, then you're going to get their attention. If you're using one look one time, one look another time, you look like a brand new person to them over and over and over again. And there's no triggered recall of like, right? Now I've seen this before. Oh, I've seen it again. Now I've seen it again. Now I've seen it again. Right? So having that dialed in and also having your message be very consistent where you can get some analytics on whether people are liking, loving, or becoming obsessed with your messaging, that allows you to tweak it. What I see a lot of people do is it's kind of like a smorgasbord, right? It's like, let's have a picnic and we're going to put out every type of food and see what people like, right? Where instead, what you want to do is you want to put out the potato salad and see how people like the potato salad. If nobody's going for the potato salad, okay, this isn't the correct message. Now we put out the macaroni salad, right? Now everybody loves the macaroni salad. Now we know that we've like hit a sweet spot and we build off of that consistent messaging. But if you're like all over the place with your messaging, you will lose your audience because there's not something that they're getting glued to that is resonating with them.
Right. They, at the end of the day, they can't be like, oh yeah, I know this girl. She's the macaroni salad girl or whatever. Right. They have to associate you with something.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
And ideally it's your brand, not some other company's brand. Right.
Right. Exactly. Well, that brings up a whole nother point, which is about sharing content that takes people off of your brand onto their brand, which is also a critical mistake. Like when we're onboarding clients, one of the things we do right off the bat is we give them a social media cleanup checklist. and we have them delete anything that they've shared on their wall that doesn't link to their specific content.
Okay.
And sometimes people are like, but wait a second, why am I doing that? And they also don't realize that a lot of the social networks will penalize you for just sharing other people's content because they consider you to be a consumer of content and not a producer of content.
Ah.
Right.
And of course they will favor the actual producers or the creators of content because that's what's going to feed their platform.
Right. And that's what's going to feed their ads. Right. So the bottom line of every social media network is that they're looking to be a profitable company. Sure. And they're profitable through their ad consumption. And if you're just sharing other people's content, you're not going to bring enough interest to your particular wall for their ads to get enough draw. So they're not going to share your content in the feed.
Yeah.
If you're producing your own interesting content that gets shared a lot and it's original content, they're going to share your content a lot in the feed. So like, for example, some of my recent posts have been shared over 100 times each. So the reason for that is the post has gone viral. So they're showing it a lot in public feeds to people who are not my friends. And then I end up getting a ton of friend requests.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I love this because at this point now in the interview, we probably have some viewers who are realizing like, oh, I thought I had a brand, but really I just have a logo and some colors.
Right.
So if they're at that moment of realization, let's help them out a little. What other branding elements should they be giving attention to if they're at that point where they have the logo and the colors, but that's it?
Okay, so the very first thing that everybody should do, and a lot of people avoid this exercise, is to identify their ideal customer avatar. And if I could give anybody any advice, I'm going to put it this way again, using an analogy. Not doing that deep dive exercise into your business is like building a house with no foundation.
Yeah.
Right? It is. It's like putting sticks on the ground that aren't nailed down, that are easily going to blow over. And which kind of brings up like the Three Little Pigs, like analogy. Yeah. But it's kind of like, we want to build the brick house, not like the straw house. And a lot of people avoid this exercise. Sometimes we have to do it with our clients because they avoid it so intently. Because there's like this mindset that if I identify my ideal customer avatar, then I'm narrowing my business. And what about all these other people that could buy my products or don't? And what I'll tell you is that they're never going to buy your products because you're going to be so general that you'll be so boring and disinteresting to everybody that your sales will tank. So you want to be very exciting to your niche and to those people that are going to be very passionate about who you are, right? And like my brand is pretty bold and I'm pretty out there with like opinions and stuff. And I tend to attract other clients that are the same way.
Right.
And that's built an incredible brand because we get to be a bit bold and vivacious with our branding, and it attracts like these really dynamic people. Other brands are more like flowy and flowery, and some brands are more conservative, and some, but we develop the brand based on the ICA.
Based on who you want to attract, right?
Right, exactly. So when people go and they get a logo and they do the colors, they typically do that like to a mirror, which is like, I like this logo. I like these colors, but what does your audience resonate with?
Yeah.
Is your audience going to resonate with orange or blue? Right. We pretty much have that dialed in. There's an entire psychology of color choosing. Ooh. That has to do with like age and sex and marital status and general income. And
really,
yes, there is a psychology of color, and you can just Google it, like Google psychology of color and branding. There's a lot of research that's done on like what people respond to. And you can test it on websites with heat maps and, how long somebody sticks to a page, You can change a color and see if the stick rate changes.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so picking colors is actually an art. It's not just like, let me go and, you know, find a color palette I like on Pinterest.
Okay.
So the very first thing is the ICA. The next thing is to really dial in what your mission and purpose is in your business and what aligns with you and what aligns with your ideal customer. And sometimes people are a little scared of this because they don't want to alienate people or, you know, they want to serve a lot of people, but we all have our own internal values as companies, and we want to serve the people that we align with in our values.
Mm-hmm.
So our company policy, like we do go through an onboarding process, and we do turn down clients that we feel either we're not a fit for, or we don't feel very empowering them. Like we don't align with their messaging, or my team just doesn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if my
You want to
team,
enjoy the work, right? I mean, and that means enjoying
totally.
who you're working with.
Right, exactly. And you can still do that and make bucket loads of money, and you will make bucket loads of money and be way more profitable than if you're working with clients that you don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you an example of this. We don't advertise our prices. And sometimes we have people that are very adamant in communicating with us, and they're like, why don't you advertise your pricing? Just give me the prices and then I'll set up the consult. And we don't work that way because we don't work with price shoppers.
Right.
So, and we know that if somebody's fundamental decision-making is on the price, then we're not the design team for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they can go to Fiverr and they can do that. And we provide so much value. Like one of the things I was communicating to you is we do unlimited revisions.
Yeah. You're not going to get that on Fiverr.
No, you're not going to get that for a logo that costs $150.
Right.
Right. And we are very thorough in checking our font licenses. We're very thorough. We don't use any clip art. Like our logos are original art. So, you know, we're not that, and we customize our contracts with people based on what they actually need.
Yeah. It's not a cookie cutter situation, right?
It's not a cookie cutter situation. And I do see in Facebook groups, like there are design teams, like when someone's like, I need a logo, people are like, I can do it for $49. I can do it for $129. I can do it for this. And that can be very appealing to a business, but you know, you do get what you pay for. We never advertise our prices. We always do a consult. And the reason we do that is because we did the work on who our ICA is.
Yeah. Well, plus someone might come to you with a very different set of needs. And if that set of needs isn't a match with your advertised price, then what do you do? Right. So
exactly. And they might have a logo that they invested in, and that is a great logo. And we don't need to put that into our contract.
Right.
Because we can use their assets.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or some people come to us and they need coaching and strategy built into the contract. So we put that in there as well, you know, so it is like, we really serve our client based on what they need, but boiling that back, not to sound like we're advertising ourselves or anything, boiling that back, we're able to do that because we did the ICA work.
Right.
And then
so
we
how
did
about
our
that
mission
ideal customer avatar? Like everyone needs to know it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It'll save you so much heartache.
Okay. Okay. So I love that. Well, now I've heard you use a phrase a couple times. I would love to dissect a little bit. You talk about a brand being obsession worthy.
Mm-hmm.
What makes a brand obsession worthy? Like, and who viewers, who doesn't want someone obsessing over their brand, right? Like, yeah, we all want that. So tell us, how do we do that?
So it really has to do with knowing your customer and serving them in an exceptional way. So one of the things that we really work with our clients is, once we have the ICA, if they have an existing customer base, we deep dive into those customers to find out what they love about the services that have been provided to them. And then we find out where they feel like something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And we add that little extra element in, and that makes it truly obsession worthy. Right.
It's like the
So
icing on the cake. Like,
it is.
yeah.
There's a couple of things that we do in our company that I'll share with everybody that really makes a difference. When we're onboarding a client, we send a handwritten thank you card to them always. We will recognize them on social media, oftentimes before they even sign with us. We'll say, we just met the most amazing person. This is their business. It's so dynamic. You know, you guys should check it out. And that's like a wow factor to them that we're already invested in their business.
Yeah.
And then we do a couple of other things. We have a very thorough contract, and our onboarding process is like, people always are wowed by it. Like, we just onboarded a new client last week, and he's a consultant, and he was like, please teach me this onboarding process. And we were like, sure, we actually have a coaching process for this. I'll send you the invoice for that. It was an immediate upsell, right? Yep. And now we're putting that onboarding process to him, and we use an automated system. So they get a proposal, they agree to the proposal, the contract comes to them automatically. Our contract is so thorough that it leaves people feeling like, wow, I know what I'm getting. I know exactly what it is. Sometimes people like this are always amazed. We get paid 100% up front. Mm-hmm. We don't take partial payments, and we don't get paid at the end. We take 100% up front. And a lot of people are like, how do you do that? Because some of these contracts are big. You know, we're talking 5 figures, close to 6 figures sometimes. And we have companies that are willing to pay us, and entrepreneurs that are willing to pay us. Some of our contracts are smaller, you know, for the smaller entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But everyone's willing to pay us up front is because of our contract.
And the way you onboard them, they can see the quality before they've even paid a penny.
Right. And they feel so good about the contract. Mm-hmm. And then we share testimonials with them like crazy. And then once the contract is signed, an invoice comes to them automatically. So, you know, they can pay with us. Then we send them a thank you gift once that's done. And then we make sure we know their birthday, like the main person that we're dealing with. And we send an outrageous, like if it's a woman, we send an outrageous bouquet of flowers, you know, like whatever the highest FTD thing is, we send this incredible you know, flower display with a card. And then at the end of it, we send a thank you gift, and we ask for referrals. Oh, wow. And we always get referrals. So and we get these amazing testimonials from people as well. And that's part of our process too, is our team will follow up and get a testimonial right as soon as the deliverables are there. And the person's like, this is amazing. We get that testimonial. Okay.
And so that's your orchestrated system at creating obsession with your clients.
Right.
So it's a perfect example, guys. So for the viewers who are watching, you know, think through whatever it is your offer or your service or your product is. What are those little things that you could add in throughout the entire process to get that client to not just be happy with what you provided, but like obsessed? Right? Like those are a lot of great examples of little things that you guys do where it's a lot of those are like, it's just going a little bit above and beyond what someone would expect.
When you think about it, like last year, we brought in over 6 figures just from one Facebook group where some of our clients saw posts where other people are asking for branding and marketing help. And our clients wrote on those posts that they should check us out. And we had consultations booked, and that's obsession worthy. When your audience is now recommending you through no accord, right, of their own, they're just like, and when someone in a Facebook group sees multiple people recommending one person or one company,
that's powerful.
They're bound to book with them, right?
Yeah. Because they see like 20 recommendations and then another 20 all of the same company.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, I could see that being super powerful. So interesting. Now I'm sure everyone's like creative wheels are turning and they're like, how can I, right? That's awesome.
Right.
And thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's listened to this. I'm so excited for everything you're creating in your businesses.
Woohoo, we're rooting for you guys.
You've been listening to the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show with Adrienne Hill, where we support coaches, course creators, and network and affiliate marketers to translate their big picture vision into actionable plans to build out their business efficiently. If you love our show, we invite you to visit buildalifebydesign.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover more helpful resources. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Thank you for listening.